All right, so today we're going to talk about some specialty sewing for people whose feet twist in their point shoes. Lots of reasons that twisting occurs, but we're going to pretend like this is the best fit, the best possible situation, but the shoe still twists slightly due to the shape of the person's foot. Ignore all of the crazy other things I have going on with the shoe. It's highly modified and kind of like an experimental shoe for me. So I was just showing you that I have one point of contact on one side and 2 points on the other. So the outside is where I have 2 points of contact, and the inside of the heel is where I have the 1 point of contact. This is going to help the shank be pulled back in alignment. And I'm just going to show you what it is. So it's a Freed V-Maker 6.5 2X C Pro. And here I'm just going to show you how I measure. So this is where my 1 point of contact is going to go across from the back of the shank. It's not going to go all the way back to where the heel is. It's got to be right across from where the highest amount of twist is happening. So right at the peak twisting. And then here you see I have that part in there, and now I'm just going to measure my other side, and I'm going to mark it. I mark it down there. Oopsies. Mark it there, great. And then I'm going to get my other one. I'm going to pull it across. And this one you can put more toward the back of the heel if you want. I just chose to do it a little bit more off to the side, but you definitely can pull it further back. And here I'm just showing you, I'm going to sew these 2 points of contact together so that it is easier to sew on. So I'm just sewing the ends together. And I had forgotten my knot, oops. But here you're going to see me tie a knot kind of a special way. So you do a stitch right next to where your thread is coming out, halfway through. You take the thread that's attached to the fabric you're sewing through and do a loop around your needle and then pull it through. And you have a very tight, flush knot next to the material. I'm just going to go through, whip stitch this together really quick. Actually, I think I'm doing blanket stitch to start. And I'm just going to tell you here, go across. You could just do once across. I just do 2 just for some stability. Gives it a nice anchor to attach to the point shoe. And here I'm going to show you, you can do it on the outside or you can do it on the inside. I chose inside this time just because for performance purposes or anything like that. It's a little more tricky to sew it on the inside just because of, the material getting in the way, but it does look nicer, but you really won't be able to see it from stage anyways. So here I am, just whip stitching that on. I go around it twice, and I use upholstery thread. So nylon upholstery thread is very, very strong, and you can burn down the edges of it once you're done sewing, and then flatten it so it won't rub you, which is nice. It just melts. It doesn't disintegrate. So here you see 1 stitch. This time I did 2 loops around, pull it through nice and tight. My knot's right there, flush against the material. Ta-da! So you can see how it's at a small angle, those elastics there. And it's right behind my ribbon. But I also sew my ribbons really far back, so don't pay attention to the relative nature of where the ribbons are. Just sew it where your shank is, the back of the shank. Okay, here I am doing the outside, and I had already measured and marked this, so this is easy for me to do. I put it right against where that ribbon is just to keep it looking neat. We don't need a bunch of elastics hanging out where we don't need them to be hanging out. If we put it under our ribbon, then we just won't see it, which is nice. The more foot you can show uncovered by elastics and ribbons, the better your feet kind of look, but yep, it's your preference. Here I am, one stitch right next to where I was, 2 times around, pull through, and then a little snippy snip. Now I have to do the other one, and I'm just trimming the excess off. If you want, you can leave some of that excess on and then fold it over to give yourself, you know, a little extra material in there. And sew your elastics pretty tight when you do this so that it, you know, applies the right amount of pressure. But if you're afraid they're going to be too tight, go ahead and fold that extra material underneath and just sew it like that. Then when you need to adjust your elastics, you can just unsew it, just snip the seam and let it out a little bit, and then you have extra. You don't have to start completely over from scratch by removing the whole elastic and getting new ones. That's a nice little trick I learned from my friend Gigi. Excuse the noise out there. I think one of my kids just ran into something. And here's the finished product. So you see the one point of contact there on the inside of the heel, and it's across from the shank, not all the way back on the heel. And then here's my 2 point of contact side. You can see under this ribbon, it is right there hiding. And like I said, this one can get pulled further back, but I chose to have it more on the side. And there we have it. Good luck.